Happy Camper Radio, episode 35. Come on, let's go camping. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Happy Camper Radio Show. I'm Skip. I am the Happy Camper, and yes, my friends, you can be one too. I am thawing out from last weekend's camping trip in the North Georgia mountains. I wish I had some good news to report as far as the weather went. Now, I don't mind camping out in the cold temperatures, but sometimes, no matter where you are or where you're going or what your plans may be, the rain will follow. And I was accused by the people at camp of bringing the rain up there with me. But you know something? We didn't let that bother us at all. We had a great time, and we're going to be talking about that here on today's show. As I indicated, I was going to try to corner some of these guys up there to get some sound from them, to get some feedback as to how their camping trip went. And all I had to do was bring out a microphone, and the life in them really came out. Like you wouldn't believe. They were just so dying to tell the world what kind of fun they had. Anyway, our phone number here is 404-537-CAMP. You can call us anytime with your camping question, day or night. You can log on to our Facebook page, of course, which is www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. And while you're at it, make sure you click on our RSS feed, and this way you can subscribe to the program and never miss a single episode of our show. Let's get our campfire lit right now, and while we're doing that, let's gather everybody together and gather by this nice warm fire, plenty of wood stacked. We're going to have a great conversation today. Bring your family and friends, your loved ones. There's always room for more here at this campsite. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Let's go to the phone lines right now.
Hey guys, this is Dan from the 4x4 podcast, and I just finished listening to your episode about scouting and Veterans Day, and I just want to say it was a great show. I really enjoyed it. I am an Eagle Scout and also a member of the U.S. Army, so it was a great episode. I liked reliving the memories of my time in Boy Scouts with you guys, so keep up the great work, and I'll keep listening. Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate you contacting the program. We always enjoy hearing from our listeners, including our fellow podcasters out there who really have a passion for what they do. And if you haven't already caught the 4x4 podcast online, you can do that. They're in the iTunes store. Catch them right now, the 4x4 podcast, and they're available online too at www.the4x4podcast.com. That's the number 4, X, the number 4, podcast.com. And while we're at it, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Rider Planet USA. They manage an online database of ATV trails, motorcycle trails, motocross tracks in the United States. It is a great website to visit, and you can check them out at riderplanet-usa.com. They're following us on Twitter. And as I told you here now, the topic of the week, we're going to discuss all these wonderful conversations we had in the North Georgia mountains. And these guys really, really brightened my day when I went on up there. This is the Hiawassee camp interview, our November trip. It is the main trip of the year. We visit there about 3 or 4 times a year, but this is the one that we all look forward to going to. And we had a great time while we were there, and these guys really couldn't wait to get behind the microphone. And we did that on Saturday night, which was the highlight of our camping trip. And let's take you up there right now and talk to some of these guys.
Happy Camper Radio.
On location. We are on location with the Happy Camper Radio Show in the North Georgia mountains in an area that could probably be best described as one of Georgia's best kept secrets. And I'll tell you, I am having the time of my life, as I do each and every year when I come on up here. And sitting next to me, next to the campfire, is a good friend of mine, a guy that I have known for a number of years, a guy who I have worked with. And we've had a lot of great time up here. Greg Loth, how are you today?
I'm doing fine tonight. It's beautiful up here, and wish everybody in the audience could be up here with us.
Now, Greg, I got to admit, you had me a little bit jealous here this past week because, like each and every year, I can't get up here until the weekend, but you usually come up on Wednesday. But this year, I've noticed that you decided to come up on a Tuesday. And how was the weather forecast?
Well, we checked the weather forecast, and it was going to be clear and cold, and it definitely was cold. It got down around 21 Wednesday morning and 22 Thursday morning. Everything on our outside table under the tarp was frozen.
I couldn't help but to notice on NOAA.gov Tuesday night when I was at work, I noticed that the temperatures were right around 20 degrees. Is that what it was up here?
It definitely was.
How was that experience?
It was good. I had my heater on in my tent, and I was comfortable.
Did you have a fire burning as good as the one we have tonight?
Not quite as good. We gathered a lot of firewood out in the woods today with you and others, and we had our campfire, but this is a nice big bonfire.
Now, when I came up here, what day did I come up? That was Friday. You know, you can lose track of your days as you get older. But when I came up here Friday, I don't want you to think for a moment that I brought the weather with me. But we were experiencing some nasty rain up here. And when I did arrive at camp, and by the way, thank you for this blue tarp that you have here at the camp so we could at least keep ourselves partially dry. But anyway, I took an opportunity to rest under that tarp because I had been up like maybe 12, 13 hours prior to arriving at camp here, and I was a little bit tired, but it gave me an opportunity to sit back and relax a little bit until the rain died down, and I was able to get over here and get my tent set up. But last night, we did experience some rain. Today, we did okay, but I'm a little bit concerned about tonight, but we're not going to let that bother us because the camping experience up here in this part of the country is just absolutely wonderful, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter what the forecast. But I wouldn't say this is something we could do if we were just starting out, could we?
No, and I do believe you brought the rain with you.
Now, Greg, you know me better than that. But, you know, I'm going to show up either which way.
Yep, you showed up and you wanted to go to bed, and I said, no, we got to go out in the woods and gather some firewood. So we loaded up in your truck and went out and cut some dead firewood on the ground.
Well, thank you also for allowing me to take that little afternoon nap while I was here, too. You know, you can't help but to get lazy up here at times, and I have been coming up here for a number of years, and I know you have, too. What is this, about your 10th or 12th year?
10, 12, somewhere right along in there.
And you never miss a holiday up here, do you?
Nope. We try to come up here 4 to 5 times a year now. It was 2 a year, now we've increased it to 4 or 5 times. Yeah,
and it's our next trip up here, I believe, is going to be, is it going to be in May or March, something like that?
In March.
Okay. And, you know, have you ever thought about coming up here in December?
I thought about it, but it is a busy time of the year.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, one of these days we're going to have to make that effort. And I'm going to have to successfully bring some firewood up here, which I wasn't able to do this time, but I'm not going to go ahead and get into that. But, Greg, it's been great talking with you here on the show. And next 3 or 4 months, we'll be doing it again.
All right, that sounds great.
This is Brian Ibbett from Coverville in the Morning Stream, and you're listening to Happy Camper Radio.
Also joining us at camp this weekend is a guy that has been coming up here since the year 2001. I know this guy very well. I knew his dad for many, many years. Mark Beatty, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be on the program.
We're glad to have you at camp. Now, I've got to say this about you, Mark. You know, when I first met you here at camp, you pretty much kind of took control over a lot of different camp functions here. Why don't you explain some of those to us?
Well, slowly I began doing the fire, and it became called the Fire Master. I'm also the Grill Master, and I pitch in for cleaning duty activities for the Tupperware, silverware, utensils after the meal.
Don't advertise that too lightly, okay? Because you may get some jobs anywhere else. Taking over a campsite is an awesome responsibility. But I've got to say this about you, Mark. I watched you build a number of campfires up here at camp, and the temperature doesn't mean anything. You got here on Wednesday, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is absolutely correct.
And before I go any further, let me say this: I absolutely admire that brand new pop-up camper that you have here at camp. Daniel, our co-host, would be foaming at the mouth if he saw that. But anyway, we're going to put that picture on our webpage at happycamperradio.com. It will be under the fall 2013 photographs. And Mark, I had an opportunity to take the dime tour with you today, and I've got to admit that pop-up camper looks like it sleeps absolutely awesome.
Well, my dad was a scout master years ago, and when I got to camp with him, his job changed and never got to camp. So we have come full circle, and with this pop-up camper, I am totally addicted to camping.
Now, Mark, I talked to you by phone before you came up, and I understand you got here a day after Greg. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, very much.
How was the weather here Wednesday night when you arrived? Because I was monitoring the forecast as best I possibly could from down there, and I was a little bit on the jealous side, like I was telling Greg, but I was really excited about getting on up here. The temperature, the weather really wasn't going to bother me or interfere with me having a great time, and the rest of my campers up here having a good time as well. But I take it you slept very well in the pop-up camper that first night, didn't you?
Yes, sir, that's absolutely correct. Several years ago, on different occasions, my dad was here with me and said, "Son, isn't this great?" And I said, "What are you talking about great?" And he said, "Being cold, wet, and miserable." And I said, "Yes, sir, because you greatly appreciate when you get home what you have in life."
Isn't that the truth? And our hats off to your dad, who we lost here a couple years ago, as well as last year, the guy who started it all here, Jimmy Atkinson, God rest them both in heaven. They're fantastic guys, and none of this will be possible without them. We're having a great time up here at the Hiawassee camp, and we do it each and every year, and these guys, to my knowledge, have been up here 45, 50 years now. Isn't that something? That's something to sit back and really reflect on.
Yes, sir. It's continually amazing. The dynamics of the camp change from year to year. And my wife asked me, how long am I going to continue to do this? And I stated to her, as long as there's one other person in camp, I will always be coming.
And I'll tell you, I don't think there'll be a problem there. Because even though the numbers have dwindled a little bit, this is a tradition. This is something that we really look forward to doing each and every year, which is why I get into camping so much, and I stick with camping so much, and it really helps boost my energy each and every week when I do a show. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. We're podcasting on location from Hiawassee in the North Georgia mountains, one of Georgia's best-kept secrets. This is a great program. It is a great opportunity for each and every one of you to get camping involved in your life and the life of your children. Well, something I got to admit, not everybody is going to come up there in bad weather conditions, but there are some of us that have camping in our blood so much that nothing is going to stop us. This will not be the very first camping trip that we went on up there in the North Georgia mountains where the weather was unfavorable. I can recall back in my earlier days. Now, keep in mind, we have been going up there in some cases 20, 30 years. And this all got started maybe about 45 years ago, and it's been a great place for a lot of us to get together and share good times. With a fast-paced world that we're living in today, not very often do we find the time available to get together at a certain time to just put the world on standby, so to speak, and just relax, let your hair down, have a great time. Now, this year, I decided that when I was going to go up, like I talked about last week, if you picked up on last week's episode, I was going to hide or hair find a gallon of apple cider. And sure enough, I managed to find some this time. And lo and behold, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I started the campfire up. I lit that pot on the stove, and I poured in probably about a quart of apple cider. It was piping hot, and that's how I started my morning. Right there by the campfire, sipping on some wonderful, hot, delicious apple cider. Haven't done that in a very long time, and it's just another one of those wonderful memories that I brought back home with me. You can do the same thing. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is. If you want to camp and you want to take on the extra preparations that you need to make that happen with you, your friends, your family, what's stopping you? I believe in getting camping involved in my life, in my children's lives, and hopefully, if I can hang in there long enough and see the light of day where my grandchildren are born, I would love to have them involved in camping as well. It's a great thing to do. It's a great part of everyone's lives for those of us who do it. And it doesn't matter whether you're camping in a tent or, like in Mark's case, he's got this brand new pop-up camper. In fact, check them out there. Check those pictures out on our webpage at www.happycamperradio.com and click on the camping pics page. It should be right there under the fall 2013 camping trip. And I've just added some pictures here recently. You can go ahead and check them out and see what our weekend was like. Now, for the most part, we had a great Saturday. The rain lit up long enough for us to sit by the fire. The sun went down early, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We sat there. We enjoyed some good talk. We ate some great, fantastic steaks. Our dinner was very wholesome, and we had one of the best campfires at that Saturday night setting than we had in many, many years. In fact, check our Facebook account right now, our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Happy Camper Radio. I posted a 3-minute video of that campfire on our Facebook page. All you've got to do is, if you're on a home computer, just make sure everybody in the room is quiet, crank up that volume, and watch that video. Instant stress relief. It's the next best thing to be in there. We're going to go back to the Hiawassee campsite right now and talk to our good friend Jeff, who is there waiting on us. And finally, here on our podcast, on remote location from Hiawassee, is a guy that has come to camp here recently. He's a friend of Greg's, and he managed to get him to come to camp and enjoy the festivities like the rest of us each and every year. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Jeff, I got to admit, I love that accent. You are not the first northerner to make it into this camp, but welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Jeff, how long have you been coming now?
Oh, about 6-7 years.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long.
Wow. And this just goes to show people who are camping for the first time just what a memorable experience this can be. Because this is a great place for great fellowship.
It certainly is. This is awesome.
You can't beat this, and and the weather, regardless of what time of the year it is, it never keeps us away. We have an awesome time every time we get together. Great fellowship, and while we're talking right now, Mark, who we just spoke with, is doing a number on this fire and is probably going to be going all night long at the way it looks. And I think you and I will probably be knocked out long before that.
I think you're right there.
Yeah, but hey, you did a great job in the kitchen tonight. And, we've got to admit that Saturday is the highlight of the entire trip because we eat like horses up here. The cooking is good. Greg was on the grill. You were on the camp stove, and you were cooking, up all the other fixings to go with dinner. And right now, it's just about relaxing here at the campsite, and that's what we're doing best. The November trip up here in the North Georgia mountains, even though I beefed this up quite a bit on the podcast, is just the November trip. There's something about it. That is the month right there that is the real highlight of all the trips that we attend up here. And I don't know why that is, but even though the turnout this particular year was low, and I think the weather had something to do with it, because we did get a lot of email responses from the regulars that do come up here saying, well, it's going to be snowing, it's going to be raining, it's going to be cold. No, that doesn't stop a lot of us that have been doing this for years, and we're really glad to have you aboard.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I think being here is really a great experience. There's nothing better than being out in the camp, out the fire going, have a nice dinner, especially the final night, which most of the time is Saturday night. Sitting back, having a great meal, sitting back with your friends, shooting the breeze, having some fun. And it just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, sitting right here right now watching this awesome fire that Mr. Beatty went ahead and started. Of course, I helped out too, but he didn't. He won't let you know that. But anyway, it's just a great time. I mean, just meet with these people and just have a sit down, talk old war stories, just having a good time, and just pray that the weather's decent. But we ran into a situation where the weather this weekend wasn't all that great, but that wasn't going to dampen our spirits. No way it won't. And we look forward to this every year. We go as many times as we can, but November is the quote-unquote main camping of the year.
And I'll tell you, I haven't missed it for a number of years. There were a couple of years way back, longer than I can remember, that some issues came up that I wasn't able to attend, and it really bummed me out. But you were mentioning right before we started the interview here that camping down here, your experience is a little different than, say, camping up in the Boston area. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, the Boston area, I did camp, but I didn't get to camp all that much. The weather up there is a lot colder than what it is down here, and we don't really have the camaraderie up there that I had down here with all these guys. We just have a great time, And in the heyday when I first started coming here, I mean, there used to be lots and lots of people here, and it was just like a little village of its own. And everybody was doing their own thing, getting together, just having a great old time. It's I can't explain it any better. It's just was like a real big family affair. It's like a family reunion is kind of what it's like every year at this time. Just get together and just have a good time, relax. It doesn't get any better than this, and I wouldn't give this up for anything.
And for as secluded as this area is, we talk about the number of people that we have seen up here, and I think I have seen 30 or 40 different people at one time. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a large area to camp, there is a lot of issues with parking too, and trying to find a place to park. And if you were arriving in camp late, then you had a hard time trying to find a place to pitch your tent. But right now, I mean, even with the small turnout that we have this particular year, it is a great place to be. It is a great place to go camping. And Jeff, I've enjoyed having you on the program as well. Thank you also to anybody else who is here with us. That includes Mark Beatty and Greg Loth. This is Skip. I am the Happy Camper. We are podcasting on location from the Great American Campsite, as we'll call it, right here in the North Georgia mountains, one of Georgia's best kept secrets. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. And my friends, it doesn't get any better than that. I had a great time, and I am so looking forward to our next camping trip. And right now we're talking about somewhere in March, going back up there. But in the meantime, there are also some other great camping destinations out there to visit. And I hope you're researching some of those and taking the opportunity to spend some time, just like I did, with some very close friends, some family members, and getting out enjoying nature at its very best. I try to take advantage of it each and every opportunity that I can. Now, last week I had an opportunity to speak with you all about camping out on Thanksgiving. How many of you plan on doing that this year? I really haven't heard from too many people about doing that, but it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad thought. I am not going to be going camping on Thanksgiving this year as much as I would like to, and the only reason that's not going to happen is because I can't see enjoying Thanksgiving alone at a campground. And most likely that's exactly what's going to happen, unless, of course, there are some nearby campers who will be camping out at that particular day of the year. This particular year, however, I'm getting together with my daughters. We are going to be enjoying a Thanksgiving dinner at a nearby resort, something that we have been doing traditionally for maybe the past 5 or 6 years. And the only reason we're going to be doing that, well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, we don't have to worry about cooking and cleaning. We don't have to worry about getting up in the early morning hours and putting the turkey in the oven and all of the work and all of the preparations that go into that. There's a lot of families that engage in that type of activity on Thanksgiving Day. And my hat's off to everybody who takes on that big load because, you know, there are some times that you're going to have a lot of friends, a lot of families. And I reflect back on the time growing up when, and I came from a very big family, I've got to mention. You know, we had grandparents on both sides. We had aunts and uncles. We had cousins. We had a lot of people show up at the house. And it was a matter of putting tables together and wondering how we were going to get everybody around those tables to sit down and enjoy a good dinner and be thankful for the times that we had with one another. Now, that is times past. A lot of our loved ones in our family are gone, and this is going to be the first year, I'm sad to say, that I'm going to be spending time with my girls, and Mom is not going to be with us because, sadly, we lost Mom back in early January. So it's going to be a difficult moment. It is also a great time, though, you know, to get together with family, friends, loved ones, and take time to reflect on what you have in life and be grateful for every moment that you have and the times that you share with each other. Our phone number here again at the Happy Camper Radio Show is 404-537-CAMP. You can call us anytime with your camping questions. It's now time for our feature campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. As I mentioned last week, the campgrounds across America are kind of dwindling this time of the year as far as availability-wise because the cold weather, the cold temperatures, depending upon what region you're living in, some of these campgrounds are not open this time of year. But we did find one here in the southeast. If you're into camping, if you're down in this area, or if you're passing on through, you don't need any reservations because they have a lot of walk-in sites. It is the Blue Bluff Campground in Aberdeen, Mississippi. Check them out. It's our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. You can find their website just by clicking on the featured campground tab. Now, they have 92 sites available. The Blue Bluff Campground and Recreation Area on the Aberdeen Lake is a section of the Tennessee Tom Bigby Waterway in Mississippi. This area is located just north of Aberdeen. Blue Bluff is named for the beautiful clay and limestone cliffs that border the park on the eastern side. The waterway extends 234 miles from the Tennessee River through the junction of the Tom Bigby River in Alabama. Now, families can enjoy the facility beach. I don't know if you want to go swimming this time of the year, depending upon what the temperatures are like. Play on the multi-use court and walk along the wooded waterfront. If you're into fishing, if you're looking for bass, walleye, crappie, catfish, and sunfish, this is a great place to consider. Now, you can also find like I say, 92 sites available at this site. They have electric and water hookups, picnic tables, fire rings, grills, pedestal grills, lantern posts, and I always make use of those anytime I visit a campground because I carry 2 lanterns with me at all times, and I'm always looking for a great place to hang them. Now, there's a lot of activities and amenities there. They have an amphitheater, a boat ramp, drinking water, a laundry facility, an ice machine. They've got pay telephones, swimming, trash collection, wildlife viewing, bird watching, a few things you need to know while you're there, too. The gates are open at 6 a.m. They close at 10. If there's an emergency, campers can get out. It is a year-round facility. It is, again, the Blue Bluff Campground in Aberdeen, Mississippi. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, definitely give us a shout, okay? You can get to our website at www.happycamperradio.com. Click on the Contact Us button. Make sure you include a link to the campground's website so we can feature it right there under our featured campground tab. That's about going to wrap things up for us here on the program. Great having you along. Don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and no doubt about it, you, my friends, can be one too. Have yourself a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're driving, please be safe. There's a lot of other folks on the road besides you. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.